to Beautiful Subconscious. I have a very special guest joining us today. We're going to be discussing how mindfulness is so important and powerful to curb parent reactions. So today I am joined by Nina, a mum of 3 and a mindful parenting coach. 4 years ago, she was a struggling mum feeling run down and overwhelmed by mum life. But after starting her mindfulness journey when her youngest was born, Nina transformed from stressed and quick to anger to calm, connected, and in control. Now she is teaching other parents these life-changing skills, and I can't wait for her to share her story and insight with us today. Hello, Nina.
Hello, Michelle. It's so awesome to be here today.
Thank you. It's all awesome to have you on. And, you know, from one parent to another, you can never hear enough in how to relate in terms of, like, sometimes I feel like we can think that this is only happening to us and the things that we do and the things that happen, we're just like, am I the only one that is going through this as a parent? So I'm really excited to have a conversation with you today, and especially in and around how mindfulness helped with your parenting skills and feeling like the parent that you want to be, and how we can teach others mindfulness to curb parent reactions. But as always, before we get started, I am going to pull a card for our episode. So would you mind just telling me when you're ready for me to stop, and I will find the card that you have pulled for our episode.
Stop.
Nice. I love. Okay, so you have pulled, I am worthy of living the life I deeply desire.
Oh, yes.
Beautiful.
Love that.
How does that land for you?
Yeah, I think that's such a good thing to remember. I think, you can have the idea of how you want to live, but really feel like you are worthy of it is such a different idea, and it changes the way you approach life, doesn't it?
Exactly. I feel like it bridges the gap, right? I feel like we've got an idea of what we want, but then our deep down connection to are we worthy of that might be singing a different song. So it's like really drawing that in of like, I actually am deeply, worthy of having that life that I desire to be. And I think that also really ties into parenting as well, right? Yeah. Because I think we have an idea of the parent that we want to be, but then somewhere along the line, like we are behaving in ways that we're like, damn, this isn't what I wanted. Like, this isn't how I want to be. And so we can feel really low on ourselves about that.
Yeah. And knowing that you have the right to be the parent that you want to be. You don't have to be stuck where you are. You can make changes. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I'd love to hear about how you first started becoming a mindful parent coach.
Yeah, of course. So I'm a mum to 3 little boys. My youngest was born, so I had a newborn and a 1.5 and a 3.5-year-old. So they were very close together.
Yeah, they were.
And I noticed when my youngest was born, I wasn't as happy as I wanted to be, kind of like this whole worthy to live the life that I want. I was feeling grumpy. I was just hanging out for my husband to get home so he could take over, yelling. I'd wake up thinking it was going to be a good day, and then within an hour I was just frustrated, wanted to go back to bed. It was all too hard. So I searched around, and I did find a mindful parenting course through a lady in the US, and I completed the program, and I saw changes within myself almost immediately. The change was transformative. It was unbelievable. So after, continuing with this program for about a year, the opportunity came to become a coach of this very same program, one of the few within Australia. So I knew that I wanted to do something with my life that helped other people, but up until that point, I'd never realized what it was. And it was like it just called me. And so I did the training, and now that's what I do.
Oh, I love that. That is just one of those absolute perfect examples of how we turn some, like, those things that happen that we think are happening to us is actually really happening for you, for us. Like, it's like having to go through those moments of like, I am at my wit's end, and every parent can understand that. Every parent can relate to, when am I going to catch a break? Like, this isn't as fun as what I dreamed it to be. I thought mum life was going to be loving and we're going to have these beautiful, but it's like, it can be grueling AF, and it can be so tough, and it doesn't look or feel like we expected it to feel. And I love that you took that and you went after, you know, a course to help you with parenting, but it took you down this trajectory of actually now helping others.
Yeah.
So on your course, what was the one thing that you felt like was like, oh my gosh, this was game changer for me?
Yeah, so it was this mindfulness piece. So I'd heard about meditation. I, you know, half-heartedly tried it before. But as part of this course, we started very slow, very small amount of daily meditation, and understanding how meditation changes the brain, how it can help you to have that less reactivity, really kind of flipped things for me. It made me more dedicated to the practice, because after a week of having 3 minutes a day of meditation, I could already sense the difference in myself. And I just was excited about the possibilities that would come from that. And that's continued. So that was, my youngest is now 4.5. So I've kept up with that regular meditation practice, and it's changed my perception of how I can enjoy being with my children.
Oh, that is beautiful. And so have you kept that same amount of time, or does it differ for you, the amount of time that you meditate? I guess it's just kid dependent and time dependent.
And it's lifestyle dependent as well. So when the kids were younger and they were around all the time, it was very much small snippets of meditation, but also adding in mindful moments throughout the day. So taking that moment to pause when I was feeding my child, just to check in with what was happening right now, you know, looking around, tuning into my senses and things like that. And as they've gotten older, I might have maybe increased some of my meditation time or my mindful moments. But one thing I know is that if I slip out of the practice, which I do because, you know, life gets in the way sometimes, I can notice the difference. And then it's like that switch is flicked and I'm like, right, I need to get back into it. I need to get focused again. And that just reignites the passion and the desire to keep it going. So it's like a positive catch-22, if that's a thing. I don't know.
Yeah, but it can be now.
Yeah, it is now. Copyright. So it's like when you stop doing it, you notice the difference, and it's really easy to get back into that routine again. So I'm on a little bit of a spree at the moment with I do about 2 lots of 18 minutes a day. I do when I wake up, and I do when I'm in the car waiting for school pickup, because that's boring. And so I was thinking, what can I use that time for? So I'm actually really quite invested in having a high meditation time now, but it doesn't have to be. Whatever, you know, people can fit into their lives is what's going to work.
I love that. That is such a modern day approach to it as well, because we know what it's like when you're going to school pickup and you have to get there a little bit earlier because otherwise the car parks aren't there, or the kiss and drop and all the, especially when it's raining. And so parents are there quite early. Thankfully, I don't live too far from where my son goes to school. I have to pick up my daughter from high school now, but people are getting there early. But to be able to not be scrolling on their phones, which I know many of us would be doing, it's like utilizing that time that you have to really inbuilt a mindfulness practice to help you and your child. Like, it doesn't have to be you have to go somewhere or wake up super early. It's like, find where can you add this to something that you're already doing or somewhere that you're already going to have to be. And I think that is like a game changer to be able to for people to embrace.
One of the first tips I tell clients when they come and do the coaching with me is, one thing that you do every day is washing dishes. Well, most people anyway. So if you can incorporate mindfulness into the first 3 dishes that you wash every night or in the morning, that's just the first kicker. And you can put a little Post-it note up, you know, on your tap to remind you. And it's only 3 dishes, so it'll only take a couple of minutes, and you're going to be doing it anyway. So why not incorporate that mindfulness? Focus on what you can feel, the water on your hands, the smell of the soap, the sound of your kids playing or arguing or whatever it is that they're doing. And that's just a really easy way. Yeah. You don't have to deal with it because you're washing the dishes, right?
Yeah, exactly. Just having that buffer between the stimulus and then your reaction to it. Well, great, because that was going to be my question. I was going to ask, like, so if people were fresh onto, or like, you know, hearing into this mindfulness, what would that like look like? What are they, because everyone's still in a what do I have to do lifestyle, right? Like, I got to do. So what do they have to do to be mindful?
Yeah. So that's exactly it. So finding spots in your day where you can focus exactly on what you're doing. So tuning into your senses, tuning into your emotions, being in that moment, not thinking about what you're cooking for dinner, not thinking about an argument you had the other day, but just being here in the now. And so you can do that as a mindful moment. So in another activity, which is easy because you don't have to add anything to your day. But I also recommend at least 3 minutes of a silent practice or a guided practice. There's some great apps out there, just where you're sitting and you're focusing on meditating. That's what you're doing. Does that make sense? So you've got the two approaches. So a little bit of each is like the perfect puzzle, especially for busy parents, because we don't have time to sit like this for half an hour in the mornings or go to the yoga studio and do it there. You know, we just got to get it done.
Exactly. And I think that's where a lot of parents can become unstuck because they're like, I don't have half an hour. Are you kidding? So they write it off like, I'm too busy. I can't do it. People are kidding themselves if they think I've got time for half an hour to sit down. My kids are screaming. They want breakfast. They've got to get their lunches sorted. They keep taking their shoes off even after I put their shoes on. They're like fighting and pulling each other's hair. One's not brushing their hair. Like we all know what those mornings are like. I feel
myself getting tense as you're saying that.
Right. Because it's so relatable. Like I'm just like, we all know that feeling so well. You're just like, if I can stop right there. But that's again, I guess, one of those really, it's a tough situation where you're just like, we understand that is what it feels like, and the reality of mornings or any time, like you just part and parcel of being a parent. But to also know that the antidote for it to not feel so highly strung is to find that mindfulness. So it's like a lot of unlearning and practicing, right? Would you say?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just accepting those moments for what they are.
Absolutely. Hello, lovely listeners. Our Total Life Transformation Program is live. If you feel stuck in your health, career, relationships, or money, this is the chance for a complete revamp. Over 6 months, you'll experience powerful changes that will transform every part of your life. With the guidance of 5 specialists, so yours truly, a kinesiologist, money mentor, functional health practitioner, career advisor, and our relationship coach, we address 4 key life pillars: your health, your career, your money, and your relationships. One investment shifts you from feeling low-key unfulfilled to fully energized and inspired in every area of your life. Health. If stress, emotional baggage, or unhealthy habits drain you, we will help release what's in your subconscious and create a personalized nutrition and supplement plan to reset your energy and health. Career. If you feel lost or stuck in your career, our kinesiologist and career mentor provide clarity, confidence, and an action plan to move forward with purpose. Money. If scarcity or fear around money keeps you stuck, we heal your financial blueprint. With our Money Mentor, you will gain practical strategies to confidently manage your finances for life. And relationships, if disconnection in your relationships leave you feeling unseen, we heal emotional wounds, leading to deeper connection, trust, and love. Now it's time to create your extraordinary life. So book your clarity call now for our Total Life Transformation Program, because it is live and waiting for you. So what do you think then because mindfulness, I'm totally on board and we understand like how powerful it is. But if people are like, I'm still not really connecting to it. If they're not being mindful, how does it affect their parenting, would you say? What have you seen? How do people express, how does it affect?
Okay, so when we're like in those challenging moments with our kids, so when they're not wanting to brush their hair or put their shoes on, our body is reacting by going into fight, flight, or freeze mode. That's what our body is doing, and that's maybe why the yelling happens. That's our fight. We're in this situation, we don't like it, our body's reacting. So our body's using the amygdala part of our brain. And when we practice mindfulness, we're actually strengthening the prefrontal cortex to allow us to access the logical and the calm portion of our brain, and that's how we get to respond differently in those moments. So if we just continue along the path that we're on now, the more our children challenge us, the more we go into that fight, flight, or freeze, and the more we're likely to respond with yelling or slapping or hitting or doing things that we're not that proud of. And so that's just going to continue if nothing changes. And then you've got on top of that, you know, most parents these days know that yelling isn't an effective form of parenting. Smacking is not recommended these days. So then the guilt piles up. And when the guilt piles up, then you're already a little bit more stressed than you were yesterday. And so then you're quicker to react in those negative ways. So the mindfulness kind of brings us back down. It allows us to pause in the moment, to see the situation for what it is. It may be that your child is not refusing to put their clothes on just to be a pain, but their clothes are really uncomfortable and the tag's itchy and they don't like it, or, you know, their friends tease them for wearing that particular clothes the other day. So it gives us that opportunity to really dig and to help our children learn their emotions, learn what's bothering them, and we can role model to them the way to react and the way to respond to situations that aren't ideal.
Oh, I love that.
Went on a bit of a tangent there, but
no, it's perfect. That was exactly, because it just reminded me of how I even got down this journey, right? Like going into kinesiology and yoga and rewiring the subconscious and learning how to really master that was because of becoming a parent. And I remember I would have these moments with my daughter where I'm like, just like, I would be like, out of nowhere. Well, there'd be an accumulation that I'd internalized of just like, the dishes has got to be done. And oh my gosh, you know, she's not feeding well or whatever it is. And you're trying to put that brave face on. It's like, no, it's okay. It's fine. And then it's building. And then you snap and then you explode. And that was the upbringing that I had, right? With love, mum, and I'm so fine with all of that now. But it just like, I'm like, I don't want to react like explosively like I saw growing up. Like I saw my mum have 0 to 100 reactivity, no accountability after that. Again, mum, love you. But it's just, was like, I did not want to respond that way, but here I am starting to respond that way. So I'm like, oh my God, this guilt that's coming. I'm just like, I know better though. I know better than this. So why aren't I reacting better? And so you get into this spiral and this cycle of like, I can't bear this. She doesn't deserve that. And I'm going to go down that same line. So it did send me in this like self-discovery and self-inquiry and what would be playing out underneath that. And thank God, right? Because now you can see again the stimulus of, they're not putting their shoes on, and you can either understand, like exactly like you said, understanding, get a better understanding of why they're not doing that and meeting them on that level, or you can see it in a space where it's like, it actually isn't a big deal. Like I don't have to respond like it's World War III. It's like, okay, they're not putting, and you have that bandwidth to be able to, you know, have a rise and fall without it being on the edge all the time.
100%. That's a great way to put it. Having the bandwidth to deal with their big emotions. When you're stressed out and you're reacting, you don't have the bandwidth. It's just put your shoes on now or else, you know, forcing them to put their shoes on. And as they get older and turn into teenagers, you can't forcibly put shoes on a 16-year-old boy, you know.
Imagine.
They have to do it themselves. So having that understanding and building that strong relationship from a young age so that when he is 16, he happily puts his shoes on because I've asked him to.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think because I've got a 14-year-old now, and I'm just so grateful for this work. I'm so grateful to have mindfulness to turn to. And like, don't get me wrong, I definitely still have moments that I'm just like, that wasn't great. Sorry, guys.
We all do.
My best form.
Right. I do too.
But yeah, you can show yourself compassion. You're not going down that guilt or shame train. And it's just like, sorry, that was not my most shiniest moment and you didn't deserve that. And I'm just stressed, not just with you, but there's other things that part up. You can have those conversations and it's awesome. But what I'm really grateful for is that they can be their own person and you can understand that the way that they're responding, it's like you've got this space where you can understand that they're still just trying to figure out and navigate their emotions and what their hormones are starting to produce and just learning how to navigate those spaces. And then you can come in with a sense of like, all right, I'm just going to guide here a little and guide here a little and,
Yep.
have my hand, but not be like, this is the road. This is like the really confined, rigid space that I expect from you as a person to show up as. And like, they're not going to conform to that, or you're going to have a hard time with that relationship with them because they're going to be like, I'm my own person. You can't tell me the way that I'm going to be.
Yes, letting them be their own person, giving them the choices. When they do have a choice, giving them a choice. Maybe he doesn't need to put his shoes on today.
Yeah.
Can he just go barefoot to the park? Like, does it really matter?
Yeah, exactly.
And I liked what you were saying. You were saying, when you have said something that you didn't like and you apologise and, you didn't deserve that, that's perfectly role modelling to your children. When they make a mistake, how to respond. When they make a mistake, you don't build it up to be bigger than it is. You don't go into this spiral of destruction. You apologise, you make amends, you repair the relationship, and then you kind of move on. And so even I make mistakes. I still yell every now and again because that's just life. And that apology piece is a good learning experience for everyone. So
absolutely, because I think we just never had, I'll speak on my experience growing up. It just wasn't really showcased as much. It just was like, well, we're just going to, what do you say? Like, brush it under the rug. It's fine. Let's move on. And it's like, well, that was kind of a bit shit. Like, that was kind of a bit shitty.
Yeah.
But no one's really like taking any accountability or ownership with that. Yeah. So I love that. So I guess with like mindfulness then, if people were to be like, okay, cool. Now I'm getting an understanding of if I don't do it, then these reactions are going to stay. They're going to accumulate. The kids are going to slowly react back, and you're going to have a relationship of reactivity. So what would be some mindful, like we said, like finding those moments throughout your day to get super mindful, but then also like, is there any other like tips that you can suggest to keep mindful or something that people can implement now?
Yeah. So, the more mindful moments during your day. So things like when you're having your coffee, have the first couple of sips mindfully. Even if you're watching your kids play for 20 minutes, or even get down and play with your kids if they're the right age, and just spend that time, put your phone away and be with them in the moment. You don't even have to really actively be mindful as long as you're focusing on playing with them. That's a really good tip as well. Mm-hmm. And if you do notice that you're starting to get stressed in a situation, you can repeat a mantra to yourself. The other day, my son was getting really cross because he couldn't get a goal in the basketball, and I was feeling sick and I couldn't deal with him being so upset and crying and whinging, and I was getting stressed out. I don't know how to teach you how to play basketball because I don't know how to play basketball. I just sat there and I repeated loudly, I just said, this isn't an emergency. This isn't an emergency. This isn't an emergency. And he eventually came over and we sat together and we both said, this isn't an emergency. And we just calmed down together. And so I didn't have to use my mindfulness techniques. I just had to use a mantra and believe the mantra, because telling your brain it's not an emergency is going to calm down that amygdala. It's going to calm down that fight or flight mode. So you might like to say, I am calm. Or another favorite of mine is, when the kids get louder, I get calmer, because that happens a lot in my house. And so using these mantras in those difficult moments is a really good way of calming down to help not react in that negative or that loud and shouty way.
Oh, I love that. Yes. And it's so interesting what they pick up, and they're so, how fortunate are the kids moving forward, hopefully in households or even just like in society where mindfulness and, self-inquiry is becoming more and more common and more practice. Because, I'm just grateful that even in my moments when I'm on my computer sometimes and I've got like that focus and my son can walk past every once in a while, he's like, Mum, take a breath. I was like, I might look stressed. I'm sorry. Yeah, but you're right. You're right. I will take a breath. And so it's just become natural for them now too. So it's so good. It's so great for that they have those tools so naturally embedded in them when, it's only really, I guess, in Western society, new concepts, I guess, in the last few decades. So it's just amazing.
Yeah. My kids are the same. If they could tell that I'm getting angry, they'll say, Mummy, take a breath, or do a mindful breath, do a waterfall breath, or five-finger breath, or, and that's awesome. It kind of makes me go, oh, yeah, hang on, okay. and pull back.
How good is that? Like these
and become.
4-year-olds, 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds saying, knowing what a waterfall breath is just incredible. I love that.
Cool.
Such a good thing. Well, I am really just in honor, and just inspired by the work that you do. So thank you for the parents that you help and the kids and the families that you support, because it is needed. We're all thinking that we're not doing as great as what, we want to be at times. And it's just like people like you who come on in and make things so much more relatable and give these tools and advice that can just make mums and dads feel like they're doing a great job, or they're doing as good as what they can, and they deserve to give themselves some credit and some, a pat on their back. So thank you for the work that you do. So how do people find you?
Well, I am on Instagram and Facebook. Mindful Parenting Lifestyle is my business.
I love that. So
yeah. No, you go.
No, great. So Mindful Parenting Lifestyle, is that right, on Instagram?
Yes, there's a few underscores, I think, in Instagram underneath the words, and Facebook doesn't have any.
Yeah, nice. Well, we will have that all in the show notes. Nina, thank you for your time today. I really appreciate your advice and how mindfulness can really help curb parenting reaction and just building those more neutral and those more compassionate relationships with our kids and our family. So thank you for your time today.
Thanks for the opportunity, Michelle. I really hope it's helped some parents out there.
Yeah, I'm definitely sure it has. Thank you all that have listened. If this has been insightful for you today, or you've taken something from it, please DM us and let us know. Share it to a mum or a dad that you may think that this could help, because the more we share the message, the more we get mindful with how we can help people, even if it's just sending, them like, I'm thinking of you, this might be helpful, where we all understand, like we're all just in it together. So we are in your corner, parents. We know how it feels. We know we're on the ride with you. And if this can help, we are absolutely honored. So let us know if it has. Send us a DM, share it on your stories, anything where it can, be passed on and give the gift of giving. So thank you for joining us today, Nina. Thank you again for joining. And everybody, until next week, take care of you.
Audience exclusive.